So, a Monday morning roundup. Let's have a little look. This could get fun. If you're new around here, subscribe, hit the bell button, leave a like. It majorly helps us get some traction. So yeah, Friday, left-hand side, you can see how the stock market took a tumble, and so did we. We did a lot of moves, right? Ignore the Bitcoin price that is open all the time on this one, which is a bit weird. We'll look at the BTC price in a bit. However, fundamentals, the stock market was pretty dire, all right? This morning, we're bouncing a little bit, as I expected, to be fair. A new month, for obvious reasons, that usually helps. But the fact that Friday was so bad is a big factor. Now, there's been a lot of earning reports coming out. Some of them have missed target. A lot of them are technology stocks. A lot of them will create a huge factor on all the other markets as well. Certainly the S&P 500. But in terms of BTC and Ethereum and all kinds of stuff, we do need to talk about that because there's a massive amount of stuff we need to talk about. First things first, on our platform, we have an economic calendar. You can get this all over the place, right? It's updated every week. And Wednesday and Friday, for me, are massive, right? Midweek, we've got FOMC statements. We've got interest rate decision. So we're going to get the decision. Is it going to be a 50 points base hike? Possibly, most likely. And we'll see what happens. And we've got other little bits and pieces in and around that kind of, yeah, that's going to be fun. And then on Friday, we've got non-farming roll, right? So seeing how the job market has been affected over the course of the last quarter. Now, the one thing that I have said in a Twitter post not too long ago, that the strength of the dollar is because employment is now rising. It's starting to increase. A lot of people are trying to go back into work. Also, what I've been reading as well, some firms in America have actually increased the wages to get people to work again, which is kind of interesting because often you find that maybe some people are better off just staying at home, and that's crazy when you think about it because of a lot of the social system in terms of benefits and all kinds of stuff like that. You could potentially be okay, especially in the UK you can be, without actually being at work, which is absolutely mental when you think about it. So stuff like that will always impact the dollar. Certainly a growing economy, opening up again. So we've had that little bit of a run with the dollar. Will it carry on? Who knows? Don't know. If we do get a relief, it may help the entire market, but also the way I look at it, the market sentiment in terms of cryptocurrency is pretty low right now, so we need to be somewhat careful. But for me, the stock market isn't looking great. And when we start adding the fact of the strength of the dollar, that may well come into be a big factor as well if people are jumping out of the stock market temporarily. Anyways, BTC. Hello. Longer term bias, we've created a new low, which is kind of a problem, in my opinion. The reason why this is a problem is for obvious things. We've had this trend line, and I think this is a valid trend line, not the wicks. I would rather go from this. It's a lot more meat to the bones, and we have fallen through it, and we've actually retested it, and we've actually created a new low from it. So I think that is the valid trend line, in my opinion. Now, we could be looking at a correction around, like, this was just to highlight the point of the retest of the trend line. But for me, I'm looking at this area. I think this area where we are right now is hugely important. The reason why I say that is because if we put a Fibonacci on this, and just from this obvious structure point, that is kind of where we are. We're in between this kind of level where we may well get, a little bit of demand. We may go a little bit higher. Obviously, we could actually go back up to the trend line and retest it. But for me, when we're looking at the overall structure, that isn't looking great. And we have created, over the course of the last few weeks, a little bit of a downtrend in this little channel here. And it's kind of textbook where we are creating lower highs, lower lows, all kinds of stuff like that, right? Now, if we kind of go a little bit further out and just look at the weekly time frame as well and remove some of the noise so we can see stuff, it's been an awful few weeks, right? We can see that very, very clearly. We've had literally a slow kind of Bart Simpson kind of given to us. Well, we've popped up and we've gone like this and just went bang. Now, in my opinion, one of the worst monthly candles we can ever have is a candle where there is no wick. We were closing at the absolute bottom of the monthly range, which is kind of rare. When you look back at history, there's always a wick on a monthly candle. Like, obviously there's a few little situations where there's not, but as a down candle, we've not had a one this bad. Yeah. Since when? Since when, Ash? Don't know. Have we? Possibly somewhere. There's always a wick. That is a truly awful candle. So, yeah, interesting proposition there. Now, when we start looking at the monthly time frame, we've got to look at the fact that, in my opinion here, 35k where these bodies have been and where that kind of noise has been. That would kind of be an area of, I think, interest. We're kind of still in that middle range of like the top to the bottom. And I've mentioned this before, we're kind of closer to like that, that levels that people don't want to talk about, the 12k levels where we could actually go down there versus going back up to all-time high, which is kind of mad when you think about it. You would never have thought that not too long ago. So looking at the daily, just to give you an input and the point of this, we're not looking great. And if we are going to look at like, this whole range, we've kind of started to float back out of it and go towards the bottom side. If we are going to continue going down, we are probably going to retest this region here where this Fibonacci level is. And if you look left, where these wicks have been, all this kind of stuff here, that seems the most logical at the moment, because when you look at this, you think, well, that doesn't look very good at all. Like overall, I know like a lot of people will be like, oh, well, when everyone's bearish, it should be bullish sort of thing. But realistically, we haven't really had a much bull market kind of activity to kind of give us a bit of hope here that we are going to get out of this. And even when we were looking and we were getting to the point, oh, hold on a minute, people are coming back, returning, my views are going up. Okay, cool, awesome, hello, welcome back to crypto. Did you miss much? Probably not, no. But for me, when we look at that, that doesn't look great. And we're going to be somewhat careful. Looking elsewhere, and before I start going on about Apecoin and stuff, this for me is playing out perfectly. This is like what I did the other week, and this is the daily time frame. We are looking likely to continue going down, and I think I'm going to keep these levels on here because we've had an impulse, we've pulled up, and I think we're going to go down to that 1.5 trillion mark, which has been tapped a few times. So I think there's more badness to come essentially over time, right? We are in a downtrend. Unless we start to flip and we start to create, higher lows, then that's not going to change for a while. And when we then start looking at other things, now, as I mentioned before, we've got two big things coming out here. You've also got to look at the fact of the fear and greed. Is it low enough yet? I don't know. Is it 28? I don't know. There's a bit of fear, but we've seen this much lower. We've seen this about 10 not too long ago, so we've got to look at that as a factor. I know this is kind of a bit wishy-washy, but ultimately it does kind of help you a little bit. Anyways, let's talk about greed and what can also affect the market, right? Apecoin, probably heard of it. It's kind of new, but it's ultimately part of the old the NFT Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Now, there's been a big problem. Over the weekend, things were happening, and the big thing was the real estate launches. But what actually happened was it crashed the entire Ethereum market again, because we know it's not very good. So you can see here this whole thing. Turning off the light on Ethereum for a while, it seems abundantly clear that Apecoin will need to migrate to its own chain. That is a huge problem for Ethereum, for the brand, obviously the Ape brand, but ultimately for the entire crypto space. 2022, we are still talking about Ethereum not handling it. We've also had Solana knock off this week as well. This weekend, sorry. So it's hugely important now. This has been hyped up massively. You all know I'm not a big lover of NFTs. If you watch me personally, or if you watch me on here, like, yeah, I understand the need for it, but for me, it's not the sort of thing that you should really go gung-ho on just yet, because it is relatively new. A trend is your friend for so long, and yes, it has been doing well, but this was a perfect example. When we start looking at the trend and the chart, bear with me, you'll see this very, very clearly, that hype is unbelievably here. That was crazy hype. It's not been around for long. But we've got to look at a few little levels here. And like, I've been talking about this for a while. This came out the gate and people were talking about this going up to like $1,000. Literally, like, people were going, oh, it's going to go to $1,000. Is it? How? Impossible? Probably, yes. And people were talking about, honestly, like, when this first launched, people were going, oh, 100x easy on Ape. How? What are you on about? It came out like $3 billion market cap. It was crazy when you think about it. So we've got this level here of interest, probably $14 it'll probably go to. And we've got to look at the facts here that this has done incredibly well. And you can see that here in terms of, like, it's shot above this Fibonacci level for obvious reason. It easily would. But there would have been other levels up here of interest, but a blue sky breakout where there's nothing really else to go other than eventually turning around is interesting. Now for me, when I look at this, if this is just hype and it's just one of those things where it is just hype, we could be seeing some interesting price action where we could see where it could go. Now, hype is only good for so long. If, in my opinion, if the NFT market is a bubble and the metaverse is a bit of a bubble because it's so new and like not really established, in a bear market, I think a lot of these projects will suffer. I don't think Apecoin will. I think Apecoin's got enough backing now. But when we look at the fact of other coins, copycat coins, that's what you need to be careful with. And the reason why I say that is because people will try and get off the hype of this to create their own projects to kind of potentially scam you. So stick with the well-known ones. Now, I do not think this is going to change your life in terms of this price point because it is so high overall in value, market cap. But there may be a fantastic opportunity in the bear market where see where this goes as a brand. So I'm keeping an eye on Apecoin, even though I'm critical of it, thinking, right, it may not do very well, it's an NFT. But NFTs, in my opinion, over time will probably get better and better because for me, collectible and artwork and all kinds of stuff around that kind of element, it requires time. And I think when we think about it, Bored Apes have not been around for that long. Let's be fair. We've got to be brutally honest here. It's not like Pokemon. It's not like all those kind of collectible stuff that you can get as cool collectibles. That's cool. Like, you got to think brand longevity, right? I would rather collect something that's got a lot more history than something like Apecoin. And maybe at the end of a bull or a bear market, whatever it may be, we may well find to see some opportunities come our way, certainly when we look at NFTs for the future. If they did well in the previous cycle and they've got longevity, they may do well in the next cycle, and they may do even better. So it's worth keeping an eye on stuff like that. And ultimately, yes, Ethereum needs to work. It really does. And you know, if you got involved in this, fair enough. But ultimately, if you also got wrecked on the hype, you've got to understand the lessons that you're not in full control of what happens, neither are the developers. Sometimes things go wrong, and that is, it happened in the stock market, it happens all over the world. So Apecoin, it could be one of those things where, yes, it's just been hyped up to crazy oblivion levels, and ultimately that land sale just absolutely rocked the boat and totally destroyed the network, which is kind of a shame for a lot of investors. But that's just kind of how it works with crypto. Things happen like that, and this is why you must always take profit. Anywho, hope you enjoy. If you like this stuff, leave it a like. And yeah, if you want to jump in our premium, 50% off for the first month. It's awesome. There's some new stuff coming very, very soon, which I'm not going to spill just yet on the public network, but it's pretty good.